I've always worked the night shift at Walmart, but nothing in my 6 years there could have prepared me for what happened last November. I was the overnight stock associate at a store in rural Ohio, a location that was notorious for being weird, though I never really paid attention to the rumors. The store itself was huge, the kind of Walmart that's been expanded multiple times over the decades, creating this weird maze of old and new sections. It was around 2 a.m. when it started. I was stocking shelves in the back, the fluorescent lights flickering occasionally as they always did. Most of the store was empty, just the hum of the air conditioning and the distant sound of registers in the front. I had my headphones in, listening to a podcast, when I noticed something odd. In aisle 13, which was mostly empty, home cleaning supplies, dust, and an old display of air fresheners, there was a woman standing perfectly still. She wasn't shopping, she wasn't even looking at anything. She was just there. Pale skin, long dark hair, and a denim jacket that looked completely soaked. I froze. I didn't want to startle her, but something felt off. Hi. Can I help you find something? I asked, my voice echoing in the empty aisle. She didn't move or respond. My stomach dropped. I debated calling over another employee but shook it off, thinking maybe she was just tired and had dozed off standing up. Then she whispered, just barely audible, "Don't leave me." I blinked. She was gone. Just like that. 1 second she was there, the next, nothing. I checked the aisle, every corner, behind the shelves. Empty. No sign of her. My heart was hammering, but I shrugged it off as sleep deprivation. I finished my tasks and decided to take a break in the employee lounge, trying to convince myself I was imagining things. But just as I was about to sit down, I heard faint footsteps echoing through the store. Slow. Heavy. Coming from the direction of aisle 13. I grabbed my flashlight from my belt, management liked us to carry them for safety, and headed back. The aisle was empty again. But that's when I noticed it. On the floor, near the air fresheners, was a single wet footprint. Nothing else around it. Just one, as if someone had stepped in a puddle somewhere and walked carefully on the tiles. I got a weird chill. It didn't make sense, no one else was in the store. And there were no puddles anywhere. I decided to finish the rest of my shift quickly and head out. But every time I walked down aisle 13, I felt that same icy presence. My flashlight flickered as I passed, shadows dancing in ways that didn't match the shelves or the displays. And then I started hearing things, low murmurs, like someone whispering your name. Own. It was faint, barely audible, but clear enough to make me freeze. I didn't even know anyone there named John. I wasn't sure if I should call someone, but I didn't want to sound crazy. Then I heard the softest sound, a shopping cart rolling. Slowly, but unmistakably, across the floor. No one was there. No other employee. Just the cart, moving toward me, stopping a few feet away. I swallowed hard, trying to convince myself it was some kind of prank or a weird air current. But it wasn't. The temperature dropped suddenly, my breath fogging in the air. The lights above me flickered violently. And then I saw her again. The woman from aisle 13. Standing at the far end, staring straight at me. Her eyes, they were hollow, black, like pits in her skull. And she whispered again, this time clearly. "Why are you here?" I ran. Not walked. Ran through the store, past registers, past aisles filled with canned goods and cereal boxes, straight to the emergency exit. I threw the door open and ran into the parking lot, not stopping until I was at my car. I didn't even think about locking the store. I just left. The next day, I went back during daylight, trying to rationalize it. Nothing. No footprints, no cart, no sign of anyone. Just the usual clutter of a Walmart aisle. I asked my manager if anyone else had experienced anything weird, and she laughed. "Oh, that's just aisle 13, she said. "People say it's haunted, especially at night. Weird things happen there, but it's probably just old wiring in your imagination." I wanted to believe her. I really did. But I haven't been back to that aisle at night since. And last week, I heard something even stranger. Another overnight employee posted on Reddit about her experience. She had seen the same woman, in the same aisle, whispering the same words. What creeps me out the most? She apparently only appears to the same person once, until the very end of their shift. And she waits. I don't know why she appeared to me. I don't know why she knows my name. But something tells me, she's still in aisle 13, waiting for the next person to come alone at night. And the weirdest part? When I finally quit and moved to another store, I saw her again, just outside the Walmart parking lot, standing under the flickering security light, watching me leave. I'll never step into aisle 13 again.
I used to work as a cashier at a Walmart in suburban Texas. It wasn't my favorite job, but it paid the bills. Most nights were uneventful, aside from the occasional weird customer. But one night changed the way I think about late-night Walmart forever. It was a quiet Thursday night, just past midnight. My manager had closed all the registers except mine and told me to keep an eye on the front end. The store was mostly empty, save for a few late-night shoppers wandering the aisles. I was scanning groceries, my mind drifting in the usual monotony, when I noticed a man approach my register. He was tall, thin, and had this unsettling stillness. He didn't look like a normal customer. He wore an old leather jacket and carried a single item, a pack of batteries. "Evening," I said, forcing a smile. "Just the batteries?" He nodded, his eyes never leaving mine. I scanned the item and looked at the price. Something felt off, like my scanner wasn't working correctly. I tried again. Nothing. The price wouldn't register. I shrugged and told him, "I'll need to do a manual price check." He didn't move, didn't blink, just stood there. Normally, I'd call an associate to check the price, but every time I tried to press the intercom, my buttons didn't respond. My hands were shaking. Finally, I grabbed my walkie-talkie and tried to call for help. "Price check, aisle 7 need assistance," I said, my voice cracking. Static. That was all I got. The walkie clicked off. I looked back at the man. His lips curled into a faint, unnatural smile. "It's fine," he whispered, his voice low and raspy. "I can wait." Something in my gut screamed that I shouldn't be alone with him. I glanced around. The other registers were empty, the aisles completely deserted. It felt like the store itself had been swallowed by silence. I walked toward aisle 7, trying to get a better signal for the intercom. But as I passed the soda display, I felt it. The hairs on the back of my neck standing up, like someone was brushing against me. I turned quickly, no one there, just a lone shopping cart rolling slowly across the tile, empty, in the direction of the electronics section. Shaking, I continued to the end of the aisle. That's when I noticed something strange. The lights above aisle 7 were flickering, casting shadows that seemed to move against the normal flow. And in one corner, a small, dark figure crouched, watching me. I froze. The figure didn't move, but I could feel its eyes on me, piercing, unblinking. Then I heard the man's voice behind me. "Why are you running?" I spun around. He was standing just a few feet away. But now, something was different. His face, it wasn't human. His eyes were pitch black, his mouth stretched unnaturally wide, almost like it had been carved into a permanent grin. My flashlight from the security station was in my hand. I had grabbed it out of pure panic. But even under its beam, his features seemed to absorb the light. "I just need to check the price," I stammered. My heart was racing. "You've already checked it," he said, voice still raspy. "But you keep trying. Why?" I tried to back up, but my feet felt glued to the floor. The air around me thickened, warm and suffocating. The shadows in the aisles seemed to reach toward me, moving independently, like black smoke curling around my ankles. And then I saw it, the cart, empty, rolling slowly toward me. But now it was full. Stacks of items I didn't recognize. Things that shouldn't exist in a Walmart, piled high, shifting like they were alive. Cans that seemed to sweat, boxes that whispered, batteries that hissed. And the man, he just stood there, smiling, watching it all unfold. I turned to run, but the exit doors were gone. I swear to God, they were just walls now. The store stretched infinitely in all directions. Aisles bending and twisting like some kind of warped labyrinth. Hours, or maybe minutes, passed. I don't know how long I wandered. The cart following me silently. The man always at the edge of my vision, whispering things I couldn't understand. My legs were screaming, my throat dry. I tried to call for help, but my phone had no signal. The intercom was dead. Even the fluorescent lights seemed to dim when I tried to focus on them. Then I stumbled into a section I didn't recognize. It looked like a normal Walmart aisle, but the products were wrong. Instead of regular items, there were personal belongings, my backpack, my shoes, my jacket, stuff I hadn't brought with me. And taped to one of the shelves was a note, written in my own handwriting. You shouldn't have tried to check the price. My blood ran cold. I turned, and the man was there, holding the pack of batteries. He smiled that impossible grin. It's too late now, he whispered. The price has changed. I don't remember how I got out. 1 second I was trapped. The next I was standing outside the front doors. Early morning sunlight streaming across the parking lot. My manager was there, leaning against the wall, sipping coffee. Crazy night? She asked casually. I wanted to scream, to tell her what happened, but no words came. The cart? Gone. The man? Gone. Even the aisle 7 price check? Perfectly normal. Weeks later, I read a thread online where another cashier had posted about the never-ending price check. Same store, same man, same batteries. Only she claimed he had followed her home. I quit soon after. I never shopped at that Walmart again. And sometimes late at night, when I drive past it, I swear I see a shadowy figure in the parking lot, holding a pack of batteries, watching the door, waiting.
I never believed in creepy Walmart stories until my own experience, which happened at a store in Northern California where I worked part-time while finishing college. I was on the evening shift, mostly alone, except for the overnight stock crew. The store closed at 11 p.m., but we stayed until around 2 a.m. to restock and organize. It was just past midnight, and the store was eerily quiet. Most of the lights in the back were dimmed, leaving the aisles bathed in a soft, flickering glow. I was arranging shelves in the electronics section when the overhead speakers crackled. Usually, these announcements were automatic reminders or manager instructions. But this time, it was different. Attention, all employees. The voice was distorted, like someone was speaking through a malfunctioning intercom. The words were slow, deliberate, and chillingly calm. Do not leave the store alone. I froze. The voice sounded like my store manager, but warped, like it was underwater. I shook my head, trying to convince myself it was just a system glitch. But then I heard footsteps. Slow, measured, coming from the main aisle where the registers were. I peeked around the corner. No one was there. The registers were empty. The front doors were locked, as they always were at this hour. And yet, the sound continued, echoing off the high ceilings. I grabbed my flashlight and cautiously moved toward the source. The voice returned, louder this time. Do not leave alone. Goosebumps ran down my arms. I stopped at aisle 10, the seasonal section. That's when I noticed something that made my stomach twist. All the mannequins, which had been perfectly still earlier, were now turned toward me. Their eyes, blank and unblinking, but somehow unnervingly focused. Each one seemed to lean slightly, as if they were stretching to see me better. I blinked. When I looked again, some of them had shifted closer. Just a few inches, but enough that I knew something was wrong. I started walking faster, my flashlight beam darting across the shelves, trying to find a coworker or anyone else in the store. That's when I heard it, soft whispers, barely audible at first. But as I passed the frozen produce section, they grew louder. "Help me, please!" The voice sounded like a child, frightened and desperate. My throat tightened. I didn't know whether to run or investigate. I chose neither. I stayed rooted to the spot, heart hammering in my chest. Then the lights went out. The flickering fluorescent bulbs died simultaneously, plunging the store into near total darkness. My flashlight shook in my hand, casting shadows that seemed to stretch and twist unnaturally across the aisles. And then, I saw her. A young woman, maybe in her early 20s, standing in the middle of aisle 10. Her hair was long and matted, her face pale, expression blank. Her eyes. I couldn't see them clearly, but it felt like they were staring directly into my soul. I stumbled backward, tripping over a stray cart. When I looked up, she was gone. The overhead speaker crackled again. "Do not leave!" I ran toward the exit doors, but they wouldn't budge. I tried the intercom to call for help. Nothing. My phone? No signal. It was like the entire store had been cut off from the outside world. I don't know how long I wandered, but every aisle seemed to repeat itself. Aisle 10. Aisle 10. No matter which way I turned, I kept coming back to the same place. And there, under the flickering light, was her, always staring, always silent, and always closer. Then I noticed something horrifying. The seasonal displays, the electronics, even the floor tiles. They were shifting subtly, like the store itself was alive. Shelves twisted, racks moved, aisles elongated. The flickering lights cast shadows that weren't mine, but mimicked my movements. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. Finally, I collapsed behind a stack of canned goods, trying to collect myself. That's when the announcement came one last time, slow and deliberate. "You cannot leave until you see..." See what? I didn't know. I forced myself to stand, creeping toward the front doors. And then I saw it, the security camera monitors near the entrance. Each screen was showing a different aisle, but not the aisles I recognized. Every monitor showed me wandering, me hiding, me terrified. And in each screen, the pale woman was behind me, inching closer. I spun around. She was standing right there, smiling now, a hollow, eerie smile that chilled me to the bone. Her lips barely moved, but I could hear her whisper, "Now you see..." And suddenly, everything stopped. The store, the lights, the shadows, all frozen. The aisles were normal again. The exit doors unlocked. No sign of her, no whispers, no flickering. I ran straight to my car and didn't stop until I was miles away. Weeks later, I found an old forum post from another employee at the same Walmart. They had experienced the same announcement while working the night shift. According to them, the voice always repeats the same warning, and the woman, the pale woman, appears only to those who wander the store alone at night. I've never worked another night shift since, and I refuse to go back. But sometimes, when I pass by a Walmart at night, I swear I hear the intercom crackle just a little, and that familiar distorted voice whispering, "Do not leave alone."
I worked the night shift at a Walmart in rural Missouri for about a year, mostly stocking shelves and doing inventory after the store closed to the public. It was a lonely job, which was part of why I started noticing the weird stuff. Most people think night shifts are boring, but at Walmart, when the aisles are empty and the lights hum, it's easy to feel like you're being watched. This happened one night in early winter. I was finishing up restocking in the home goods section when I noticed something strange. a shopping cart. It wasn't unusual to see carts left behind, but this one was different. It was just sitting in the middle of the aisle, perfectly centered, like someone had placed it there deliberately. I walked past it, thinking nothing of it, but then I noticed it had moved. A few feet down the aisle, facing me. I stopped. My mind tried to rationalize it. Maybe I nudged it accidentally? But no, I was certain I hadn't. I kept walking, pretending not to notice. Then I heard it, the soft scraping of wheels on tile, following me. My stomach tightened. I turned sharply, empty aisle. Nothing. Just the cart, a few feet behind, slowly inching forward. I quickened my pace, heart hammering, and the cart followed. Faster now, rolling silently, keeping pace. I tried to shake it, darting into another aisle. It appeared there too. Same cart. Same silent pursuit. By now, panic was setting in. I grabbed a flashlight from my belt, shining it on the cart. There was no one behind it, no shadows, nothing. Just the cart. Empty. And yet, it moved as if it had a mind of its own. I ran toward the front of the store, hoping to reach the break room or the security office. The store felt wrong. The layout seemed different. Aisles twisted subtly, shelves seemed taller, corners sharper. The cart followed every turn I made, perfectly synchronized, rolling closer with each step. Then I heard a whisper, low, almost inaudible. "Stop looking at me!" I froze. The voice was unmistakably female, childlike, trembling. I swung my flashlight around, but no one was there. Just the cart, eerily still for a moment, then rolling again toward me. I decided I needed help. I tried calling on the intercom, but the line was dead. I ran to the manager's office, only to find the door locked. That's when I noticed the security cameras. The monitors displayed the empty store, but one screen caught my attention. A figure, standing at the end of the home goods aisle. Pale, thin, long dark hair covering most of her face. She was watching me. The cart moved again. Slowly, deliberately, heading straight toward the camera. I ran. I don't know how long I ran, weaving through aisles, dodging carts and displays that seemed to shift subtly, as if the store itself was alive. Each time I turned, the pale woman appeared somewhere in the corner of my vision, always standing still, always watching, her presence making the air thick and cold. Finally, I reached the main exit. The doors opened automatically, but instead of the parking lot, I was in a completely dark space. No cars, no streetlights, just blackness. I could feel the cart behind me, rolling closer. And then she spoke, clearly this time. "You can't leave, not until it follows." The words froze me in place. I turned slowly. The cart was there, moving on its own, shadowed by her pale form. I could see now that inside the cart, items were appearing, groceries, random objects, some of them familiar, like my backpack, my jacket, things I hadn't brought with me that night. I stumbled backward, tripping over a display. The cart rolled toward me faster now. I screamed, but no sound came. The woman stepped closer, and I could feel the cold of her presence brushing against my skin. Then everything went silent. The cart stopped. The woman vanished. The exit doors unlocked. I bolted outside, gasping for air. When I looked back, the store looked normal, mundane, just like any other Walmart. Weeks later, I found a post on Reddit by another night stalker from a different Walmart location. She wrote about the same cart, the same pale woman, appearing during lonely shifts. The cart always follows. And she warned, "Don't try to run. It knows your name. It knows where you live. I quit the next day. I've never worked nights again. But sometimes, in the dead of night, I think I hear the soft rolling of wheels behind me when I'm home. And I can't shake the feeling that it's still following, waiting for me to walk alone again.
I worked as part of the overnight cleaning crew at a Walmart in upstate New York. Our job was simple: mop floors, sanitize surfaces, restock bathroom supplies, and make the store look presentable before morning. Most nights were uneventful, quiet, lonely, but routine. That is, until one night in late October. It was around 1:30 a.m., and I was finishing up the dairy aisle when I noticed something strange. One of the freezer doors, normally closed, was slightly ajar. That wasn't unusual on its own, but the strange thing was the humming. Not the usual refrigerator hum, but a low rhythmic hum that almost sounded like someone chanting. I approached cautiously. No one was in the aisle, and the hum seemed to grow louder as I got closer. I shook my head, thinking it was some weird mechanical issue. I closed the freezer door and continued cleaning, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I decided to check the security cameras from the employee station. Most monitors showed empty aisles, except one, the frozen food section. On the screen, I saw them, 3 figures in janitor uniforms, moving slowly among the freezers. But that couldn't be right. I was the only one on the cleaning crew that night. Then I noticed something else. They weren't just walking. Their movements were jerky, unnatural, like puppets being controlled by invisible strings. And the worst part, their faces were completely hidden by featureless white masks. I rubbed my eyes, convinced I was seeing things. But when I looked again, one of the figures was standing in front of my camera, staring directly at me. Even through the screen, I felt its gaze piercing. Panic set in. I grabbed my walkie-talkie to call for backup. "Hey, I think something's wrong in the frozen aisle." Static. Nothing else. I tried calling the front office. Phone dead. I was completely cut off. Then I heard the faintest sound behind me, the tap-tap of shoes on the polished floor. Slow. Deliberate. I turn around. Empty aisle. Just the fluorescent lights flickering above. I started walking toward the front, telling myself it was just another employee sneaking in for a snack. But as I passed the cleaning supplies aisle, I saw them again, 3 figures, their masks reflecting the harsh light, standing perfectly still. Their heads turned in unison toward me. I ran, heart hammering, mop bucket clattering behind me. I could hear them moving, but every time I looked back, the aisle was empty. I made it to the loading docks. Normally, these doors were locked, but tonight they were slightly open, letting in a chill night air. Relief washed over me. I could get out. But then I saw them again. Standing just outside, motionless, masks reflecting the weak light from the parking lot. And this time, they weren't alone. Behind the 3 masked figures were dozens of shadows, long, twisting shapes that didn't belong to any person I'd ever seen. The chanting hum had returned, louder, more insistent. It sounded like it was coming from inside my own head. I ran to my car, fumbling with the keys. The shadows moved with me, just at the edge of the light. When I reached my car and locked the doors, I looked back. The figures had disappeared. The parking lot was empty. Just me, the cold asphalt, and the empty, looming Walmart building. I didn't tell anyone about that night. My coworkers would have thought I was crazy. But weeks later, I stumbled across a Reddit post from someone claiming to be a former overnight cleaner at the same store. She described the same 3 masked figures, appearing every few months, always in the frozen food section, always followed by whispers and chanting. She called them the unseen cleaning crew, and claimed they were watching anyone who worked alone at night. I quit the next week. I never went back. But here's the thing, last month I drove past that Walmart late at night. The lights were off, all's empty. But I could swear I saw someone or something moving behind the glass doors. And in the distance, the faint hum of chanting. I still wake up some nights, thinking I hear the tap-tap of masked shoes echoing down empty aisles, following me from some place I'll never go back to. I worked overnight at a Walmart in the Midwest, mostly stocking shelves and handling overnight inventory. Most nights were boring, quiet aisles, the hum of fluorescent lights. But one night, something happened that I'll never forget. It was around 1 a.m., and I was walking toward the back of the store to check inventory in the electronics section. As I passed aisle 17, I noticed the automatic sliding door at the end of the aisle was closed. Nothing unusual about that. But the door had a small sign taped to it, "Employees only, do not enter." I frowned. That aisle had never been closed before. The sign looked fresh, like someone had just put it up. Curious, I peeked behind it and noticed the aisle was darker than the rest of the store. Normally, all the lights were on, but here, there was a flickering dim glow, like the bulbs were about to burn out. I debated leaving it alone, but something drew me in. Maybe curiosity. Maybe a sense of responsibility. I stepped past the sign and into the aisle. The lights flickered more aggressively as I walked in. I glanced at the shelves. They were ordinary at first. Boxes of electronics, cables, headphones. But as I moved deeper, I realized the shelves were wrong. Some of the items weren't in any Walmart inventory system. Old devices I'd never seen, strange gadgets, things that looked like they belonged in a lab instead of a store. Then I heard it, a soft voice, barely audible. "Why are you here?" I spun around. The aisle was empty. My heart was racing, but I tried to convince myself it was a coworker playing a prank. I stepped further in. That's when the shelves started moving, or at least it looked like they were. The aisle stretched, bending, making it impossible to see the end. I felt trapped. My phone had no signal, and the store's intercom system was dead. Then I saw something that made my blood run cold. A figure at the end of the aisle, partially obscured by shadow. A woman, maybe in her 30s, wearing a faded Walmart vest, her name tag illegible. She stood perfectly still, staring. Her face was pale, her eyes hollow, almost like they were carved out. I tried to back away, but the aisle seemed longer now, almost endless. Every step I took, the shelves shifted slightly, keeping her just out of reach, just distant enough to make me feel like I was trapped in some twisted maze. "You shouldn't be here," her whisper echoed through the dim lights. I started running, weaving through the shifting shelves. The exit, where the sliding door should have been, was gone. In its place was a wall. Panic surged. I tried to scream, but no sound came. The shadows of the shelves seemed to reach toward me, stretching unnaturally. Then the lights went out completely. I fumbled with my flashlight, shaking violently, and when I flicked it on, she was there, right in front of me. Her mouth opened slowly, too wide, revealing teeth that were sharper than any human should have. "You can't leave." "Not yet." I stumbled backward and tripped over a box of random electronics. The flashlight clattered across the floor, illuminating the aisle. And then she was gone. Just like that. The lights flickered back on. The shelves were normal. The door to the aisle had returned, and the sign was gone. My heart was hammering. I ran straight to the break room and didn't stop until my shift ended. I never told anyone about that night. I didn't want to be laughed at. But a few weeks later, I saw a post online by a former Walmart Night Stalker. They described the same locked aisle, a part of the store that didn't exist on any official map, where employees reported seeing a pale woman trapped among shifting shelves. She appeared only to those who walked alone, and no one who saw her ever returned to that aisle willingly. I quit soon after. Even now, when I pass by Walmart at night, I avoid the back of the store. There's something in those aisles, something waiting, something patient. And I know, it's still there. I used to work overnight at a Walmart in a small town in Illinois. Being a night associate was lonely, but the pay was decent. I had a routine, stock the shelves, check the displays, make sure nothing was out of place, and occasionally help customers who wandered in late. But one night, I encountered something that made me never want to step foot in that store again. It was around 1:45 a.m., and I was finishing restocking the snack aisle. The store was mostly empty, except for one elderly man slowly pushing a cart down aisle 9. I didn't pay much attention. He looked like the kind of person who wandered late at night, lost in thought. Then my walkie buzzed. "Hey, you there? Need help in the back, aisle 12. It was the manager. I knew her voice well. She had always been professional calm. I acknowledged the message and walked toward the aisle. But as I turned the corner, I saw something strange. Aisle 12 was empty. No shelves being restocked, no employees. Just the faint hum of the fluorescent lights. I called her on the walkie. "Hey, I don't see anyone here. Are you okay?" Static. Then the manager's voice came back, but slower, distorted, almost like it was underwater. "Don't follow me." I froze. My stomach turned over. The voice sounded exactly like hers, but the tone was wrong. Too calm, too deliberate, too wrong. I shook it off. Maybe the walkie was malfunctioning. I turned back toward the snack aisle, but that's when I noticed something even stranger. The elderly man from aisle 9 was standing silently, staring directly at me, his cart unmoving. His eyes were dark, too dark, and his smile was wrong, too wide, almost predatory. I told myself to calm down and keep walking. I headed to the manager's office to check on the message, but the office door was wide open. Inside, it was empty. The computer screen showed the security feeds, but one of them caught my attention. The monitor displayed the snack aisle, and standing there in the middle of the aisle was a woman in a Walmart vest. Pale, long dark hair, face expressionless. The manager wasn't there. I blinked, rubbing my eyes. When I looked back at the monitor, she was gone. The walkie buzzed again, and the voice came back. "You shouldn't be here." I realized then that I wasn't hearing her. It was the store. The intercom wasn't working properly. It was alive somehow, using her voice. I ran to the front entrance to see if anyone else was around, but the doors wouldn't open. My phone had no signal. Every aisle I passed seemed slightly different. Shelves in different places, displays that weren't normally there, and every so often, a shadow flickered in my peripheral vision. I tried calling out, but no sound came out of my mouth. Then I saw her again, the pale woman, standing in the middle of the electronics aisle. She didn't move, but I could feel her attention on me. I tried to approach, to understand, but the further I went, the further she seemed to retreat. And then, just like that, the lights flickered and went out completely. When they came back on, she was gone. I ran back to the manager's office, desperate for help, and that's when I saw it. On the desk, a small name tag, Manager Emily Clark. The funny thing, I had never met anyone by that name. And when I asked around the next day, every employee insisted that Emily Clark had never worked at that store. It hit me slowly, cold as ice. The voice on the walkie, the warnings, the pale woman I'd seen on the cameras. It wasn't my manager. It was something else. Something that had been pretending, guiding me, keeping me in the store late at night. And I couldn't shake the feeling that it was still watching, still waiting for the next person to wander alone. I quit that night. I never returned. But the weirdest part, a month later, I drove past the same Walmart. The lights were flickering inside. I saw a figure moving in the back aisles, a pale woman, vest on, hair long and dark. And she seemed to be staring right at me. I've never been back, and I never will. Because sometimes, the managers who aren't there are the ones you should be afraid of the most.